How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, October 23rd, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do an elite individual profile on Nick Bosa. The elite defensive end for the San Francisco 49ers turns 24 today, and because of that, for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to shed light on what Nick Bosa has been able to do from the moment he stepped foot on a college football field to where he is right now. And if you're not familiar with what he's done in that time, he's been a first-team All-Big Ten player. He's been a Pro Bowler, and not to mention he was a Defensive Rookie of the Year. Not to mention that he's only in his third year in the NFL. He's just getting things started, and he is most definitely on track to cause a lot of damage in the NFL. If you're not familiar with him, he stands at about 6'4". He's 266 pounds. He's the younger brother of the Los Angeles Chargers elite defensive end, Joey Bosa. They were both crazy, phenomenal high school athletes, college prospects that went to Ohio State, and they were both groundbreaking at Ohio State, two of the best defensive linemen that Ohio State's ever had. And many would argue that Nick Bosa was the more complete prospect at Ohio State, of course, because he had his older brother to look up to. And because he had his older brother to help put him on that track, Nick Bosa has definitely gone off on his own path and caused a lot of damage at the college level and at the NFL level. So just to get a little bit of background into this, he's originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Florida is one of the states that's really intense when it comes to high school football, especially where he played. He played for St. Thomas Aquinas, which is usually ranked like amongst the top high schools in the country. They regularly send prospects to D1 schools, and of course, Nick Bosa established himself as one of the top prospects in the nation. He would go on to commit to play at Ohio State, and from the moment that he first got there, he hit the ground running as a freshman. He would go on to play under Urban Meyer. When he first played, it was under Urban Meyer, and his last season was when Urban Meyer and Ryan Day switched coaching positions. But in Nick Bosa's very first college season in 2016, which would have gone on to have been his age 19 season, he played 12 games in a season where Ohio State finished with an 11-12 record. They went to the college football playoff semifinal, but they ended up getting housed in the Fiesta Bowl by Clemson. They finished with an 11-2 record. In the 12 games that Nick Bosa played, he finished with 29 tackles on the defensive line. He finished with 7 tackles for loss and 5 sacks as a freshman, by the way. As a freshman, he would go on to make a solid name for himself in the sport. But of course, he would back up his name his sophomore year. His sophomore year, he would go on to play 12 games in a season where Ohio State finished with a 2-2 record. They finished as the number 5 team in the nation, beating USC in the Cotton Bowl in 2018. But in the 2017 season itself, Nick Bosa would he finished with 34 tackles in the 14 games that he played. He had 16 tackles for loss, which is the most tackles for loss he would ever have in a college football season. He also had 8.5 sacks. Not to mention, he also had 2 passes defended and a forced fumble. That season was when Nick Bosa would go on to be named the Smith-Brown Defensive Lineman of the Year, and he was also named to the first-team All-Big Ten team. That's the only time he was named to that team while at Ohio State. And then following that season, he would return for his age 21 season, his junior season at Ohio State. And in 2018, he would only play 3 games in a season where Ohio State finished with a 13-1 record, beating the Huskies in the Rose Bowl. That year, he would undergo core muscle surgery, ruling him out indefinitely. In the 3 games that Nick Bosa played, he finished with 14 tackles and 4 sacks. And he also had a forced fumble, and he had his only defensive touchdown of his collegiate career. But he decided to He decided to, of course, focus on recovery. And, of course, he already established himself as one of the top prospects in the NFL. So following his amazing collegiate career in which he established himself as one of the best possible or potential NFL players, he would end up being the second overall pick in the 2019 NFL draft, the draft that featured the elite starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, being the pick right ahead of him. And it would also feature Josh Jacobs, the elite starting running back for the Oakland Raiders, for the now Las Vegas Raiders, but the then Oakland Raiders, was taken with the 24th overall pick. So just though that was the company that he was drafted around. And once he was taken with the second overall pick, he has played for the San Francisco 49ers for his entire career to date. In his very first season in San Francisco, his age 22 season in 2019, he would start 14 of the 16 games he played in a season where the San Francisco 49ers finished with a 13-3 record. They would end up winning the NFC West and making it all the way to the Super Bowl, but first going back to the regular season. Bosa would end up finishing with 47 tackles on the season. He would end up finishing with 16 tackles for loss. He had 9 sacks, which, of course, the most tackles for loss, the most sacks he's had in a season, of course. He would have 2 fumble recoveries, both fumble recoveries he's had in his career. He also forced a fumble. He would finish with an interception as well. And at the conclusion of the season, he would not only be named the Defensive Rookie of the Year, which, of course, is only given to one player of all the rookies that play in the NFL, but he was also named a Pro Bowler in his rookie year, which is a very rare feat that you see. But of course, you can see that when he played a full season, you can see the impact that he had in the NFL. And of course, this rookie season is, of course, what set Nick Bosa apart from a lot of other players that were playing in the NFL. And following that rookie season in which he was named the Defensive Rookie of the Year and a Pro Bowler, the San Francisco 49ers, in the only time that Nick Bosa has ever made it to the playoffs, I might add, they would go on to beat the Vikings 27-10 in the divisional playoff round. They beat the Packers by 17 as well, but they beat them in the NFC Championship game. And then they would go on to Super Bowl 54, and then they would end up losing it to the Chiefs 31-20 after the 49ers actually had a 20-17 lead, but Patrick Mahomes would end up going insane. But Nick Bosa was actually playing in the Super Bowl in his rookie season, and he was a very impactful part of one of the best defenses in all of the NFL. So that just is what to show what he was able to do in the only full season he's ever played. This transitions us to his age 23 season in 2020. He would only start 2 games in a season where the 49ers would finish with a 6-10 record. They would lose they lost 7 more games than they did the previous year, not doing exactly what they were expecting, as Bosa did suffer a torn ACL against the New York Jets in week 2. He was placed on injured reserve and would miss the entire season. In the 2 games he played, he would register 6 tackles, and he did force a fumble in that time. So this would transition us into where he is right now, as he is now in his age 24 season. And at this point, he has gone on to start 5 games for a San Francisco 49ers team that at the moment is sitting on a 2-3 record. And so far, Nick Bosa has been able to force a fumble, and he also has 5 sacks on the season. And of course, Nick Bosa is definitely on pace to show he's definitely on pace to be a Pro Bowler yet again this season. And the 49ers, even though they haven't gotten off to that great of a start, it's only the beginning of the season, and it is very possible that they can make the playoffs this season, even though the Cardinals and the Rams have been playing out of this world. But that just to show that he is an amazing player and a player that is an elite defensive end, especially out of all the defensive ends that have even made it to the NFL in the first place. With that said, I want to thank the NFL I want to thank the Pro Reference and the College Football Reference websites for giving me the stats. I want to thank the NFL website and, of course, ESPN for giving me the facts and figures, and the Wikipedia pages for giving me the numbers on the organizations that he played at. I want to thank everyone for listening to all 10 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. I want to wish Nick Bosa a happy 24th birthday, as this dude is possibly on track to have quite an amazing career for a defensive end. So if you ever get a chance to watch Nick Bosa. And with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more of the elite once all of today's matchups and exhibitions are done. Thanks for listening to this piece. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.